Hey guys, welcome to Wild Hope Homestead. This is the next part of our South Island video in which we leave Twizel and head to Central Otago. We spend part of the day in Wanaka before heading to our next destination, staying with friends in Alexandra. It was hard to leave Twizel, but we had other exciting places to go and people to visit. One thing that I forgot to mention in the last video is that I got my homesteading fix while we were staying with my uncle and auntie in Twizel. My uncle had 5 of their sheep to process, which he'd already dispatched earlier before we were there, but he needed to process them, and since I was showing an interest while he was talking about it, he waited until we were back from our outing so that I could watch. So we got to watch him piecing out all the bits of meat. Well, the others watched for a little while, but they weren't as excited about it as I was, so they went back to the house. My cousin has an amazing butchery set up at their place, so I got to see all the different things that were in there and how it worked well. And I was just really thankful that my uncle let me watch him and learn, because it's such a good way to learn a skill by watching someone else who knows what they're doing do it. And even though it might be a wee while before I get to use that particular skill, hopefully I will one day. Okay, let's get on with the video. As we left Twizel, the good weather left too. It started raining. It was raining all of the drive through to Central Otago, but we still got some beautiful views along the way. In Wanaka we went to the National Transport and Toy Museum, which is definitely the biggest museum that I have been to. They have a shop inside the entrance with all kinds of toys and games and things that you can buy. And then the actual museum part was a few different buildings with the biggest collection of toys and memorabilia that I have ever seen. Every toy from your childhood that you could think of would probably be there. Well, if you're in New Zealand anyway. And they had a huge collection of vehicles, cars, work machines, planes. It just went on and on. I think there was some in every part.
There's the wheel racing down the pit lane.
Ride a little
Space thing.
It's gonna be here for a while.
Smurfit is the only wheel.
It's cheap. They're a lot more simple these days.
The second building that we scuttled into through the rain was full of model railways and trains, which was pretty cool. I find something fascinating about model railways. I think it's just the way that they have it all set up just like a tiny little world with little people and animals and trees and buildings. It's very cute and imaginative. And as we carried on through there were more toys and Lego displays. Lego Town. He looks a little bit like Liam.
Very minor.
Ooh la la. Big bite.
It's a giant buzzy bee. Then we walked through into the next part that has a whole bunch of vehicles, cars, old fire engines and trucks, bikes lining the rafters. They'd used all the space along the walls from the floor right up high to near the roof. They were just everywhere you looked there was something interesting to look at. They've packed so much in there. This building also had a lot of old toys and memorabilia of all kinds from, well, what Angus would call the old days when we were kids, and even further back. TVs, old radios, old singer-sewing machines, and all sorts of things.
fire. Where's that?
Then we ran through the rain to the next building. I don't have the sound on for a lot of this because the rain was really loud, especially on the metal roofs, so it was hard to hear. This hangar had a bunch of old cars as well as aeroplanes stuffed in as tight as you could imagine. Oh, dude.
There's a tank with them.
And then we went through to the next part of this hangar, which had old military vehicles and things that could be aimed at people. A big plane. Come this way. Leave the stones alone, please. Whoa, watch out for Angus. Oh, and some tractors and a big collection of work machines that were all parked so close together. It was like a fun maze trying to get through them all. And some buses. It's amazing the amount of vehicles that they had stuffed into some of these hangars or sheds.
That truck was towing a trailer.
Oh. Oh, we're going on the plane. I guess you can go up the steps. They're open.
Why is there a tray with a cup on it? There's only one left.
Whoops. Did the same thing.
Hey, why does this open?
What is that? It's like a big helicopter thing. The last shed that we went in was stuffed full of more vehicles of all kinds, and it had some old memorabilia as well, fishing gear, automotive bits and pieces, another plane that we could walk into. Can hop in the airplane. Yeah. There were a bunch of big vehicles parked outside down the back that we didn't even get to look at because it was too rainy. But we had been there quite a long time already, so I think that was probably enough vehicles for all of us for one day, except maybe for Angus, who can't get enough.
This is so much fun.
Uh-oh. We drove down to the waterfront of Lake Wanaka because you can't go to Wanaka and not see the lake. It's normally a beautiful sight to behold, but unfortunately it was still raining. So we got out for a little bit and then went back to the car when the rain got worse and waited. And it cleared a little bit, so the kids and I got out and about and enjoyed a bit of time on the shore looking at all the pretty rocks. But with the wind and the rain together, it was freezing cold. It may have been summer, but it did not feel like summer. So we carried on and drove to Alexandra. Thanks for joining us in today's vlog, guys. Next time we'll be exploring out and about around some parts of Central Otago. Choose to grow hope, and we'll see you next time. Bye.